I am a student of astrology and Ayurveda since the past 50 years. And when Pandit Ravi Shankar was born, it was Shankar Jayanti when he was born and Ramanuja Jayanti when he was named. This confluence of Shankara and Ramanuja gave us an indication of things to come. As he was born on a Sunday, we called him Ravi, and as it was Shankar Jayanti, we called him Shankar, and as he was named on Ramanuja's birthday, we called him Narayan. So the full name became Ravi Shankar Narayanan. It got shortened due to passport regulations. But this indication of his birth gave an idea as to what things are going to happen in his future. Even while he was a small boy, he used to sit aloof and have a faraway look, looking at things which perhaps is beyond us. When he was around 4 years, I observed him one day sitting in a park and watching the children playing. He suddenly said, "People are waiting for me, I must go to them." I knew that the spirit within him was raising and making him itself expression. And also, one more thing was, when he was 4, we sent him to a traditional school where a lady, a retired headmaster, was teaching him. She did the puja and she said, "Om Namo Bhagavate Narayana." Then he repeated the second sentence of the Bhagavad Gita. She was so surprised that she immediately ran to our house, which was nearby, and said, "Your son is repeating even before what I tell him." I said, "Please don't be surprised, please carry on with your work." And then that began an indication of his spiritual progress. At the age of 9, he read Rigveda. At the age of 14, he became a PhD in science and Veda. This accelerated progress of his was an indication that he was going forward to the world to impart the knowledge of happiness. To be happy is the prime motive of every human being in this world. But the difficulty is they do not know how to be happy. They know how to be miserable. But he was born to tell them even misery is a happiness. This was something new which people could not understand. He said, misery is a camouflaged happiness. That was something that appealed to the Western mind, because they thought misery is misery. Then, as a young boy, when he sent him to school, it was a surprising experience for us. He was admitted to the first standard. After 1 hour, the teacher came to us and said, "Sir, your son is rather very intelligent. I would like to give him a promotion to the second standard." Another hour passed. The second standard teacher came and said, "She is too intelligent for second standard. We will promote him to the third standard." Within a course of 3 hours, he was promoted 3 times to the higher classes. That was the beginning of a surprising and a beautiful career. He would not discuss small family matters because his mind was always full of the world. And we also would not discuss with him how is this, how is that and all. We would always discuss with him his progress, his work, his thoughts and his attitude to life. So our attitude to him was a mixture of love and admiration. This was something which every parent has to acquire, because the children, we do not know what is in store for the children. It is better that they encourage the talents of children. It is always said, the teacher often comes in the way of those who learn. So, we do not want to restrict his freedom of thought. And that was the position. Though he is a world famous guru, he is still my loving child and my loving master. He has travelled all around the world, spoken to millions of people, and covered 146 countries. Many times I have gone with him. And there was one thing which was very intimate between me and Guruji, and that was my storytelling. As a small child, he would hop on my shoulders and say, Tata, give me a story. So I used to tell him stories. On one side, the Guruji, and the other shoulder, his sister Banu. I think I must have told around 1,500 stories to him. And these stories he would always remember. And at many of his lectures, he would say, Appa, tell some stories. I would tell a traditional story and he would give a modern interpretation of those stories, which is so pleasing for the Western audience. He said, what is Pitaji saying and what is Guruji saying? I said, one and the same thing. So, this storytelling, he himself has suggested that I should videotape them and send them to the world, so that people will know what is the truth, how it is told, and how to imbibe truth. Truth to him is a thing that gives the greatest good to the largest number of people. That is his explanation and definition of truth, and that is what we should always observe. He was a man, a Messiah, who has come with a new message, with a new outlook, with a new vision on life. And his art of living was initially named as the art of loving, but unfortunately in India and in Western countries, the term loving has acquired different connotations. So instead of loving, we changed it to living. So the art of living was a unique thing, and how it came to him is also a unique factor. At one of his earliest courses, he sat and began to talk to the audience. And after he finished talking, I went to him and asked, it was an excellent oration, how did you do it? He said, I don't know. There was some power which spoke for him, and every time that some power speaks with him. That is the beauty. And he speaks not from his mouth, but from his heart. That is the speciality with Guruji. What he says is right from his heart, and that appeals to every heart of every description. Guruji always thought that the ills of the world starts with the mind. When the mind gets corrupted, the life gets corrupted. Corruption is not a phenomena of living, it's a phenomena of the mind. When your mind is pure, you will not be corrupted. And unfortunately, most of the people in our present day world get corrupted because their mind is not pure. Their mind is corrupted. They think that money is everything. They do not think that mind is everything. Guruji always says, it is not the money, it is the mind. That is more important. That is the main aspect of art of living. When you start loving people, you start reducing the attitude of corruption. When you love your wife, you don't ask money from her. When you love your son, you don't demand corruption from him. When you love your friend, you don't want any bribe from him. Love removes corruption, and love can remove all worries from the world. Because more than 80% of world's disease is psychosomatic. And when the mind is pure, when the mind is full of love, when the mind is full of service, then everything will become all right. We have, Art of Living has 3 main mantras. It's so beautiful and yet so simple. In one of the lectures, I repeated his philosophy. And what is it? His first philosophy is laugh. Keep laughing. Laughter removes pain. And second is, make people laugh. It's not enough to laugh yourself. Make people laugh. And the third mantra is, keep worries away. In Hindi, I used to translate it as say, haste jao. And secondly, hasate jao. And thirdly, dukh ko dur hatate jao. This is the essence of Art of Living.